Get hype!
Whoa.
Yeah, we're not going to start with a normal salutation like greetings or hello. You just better start hype because we're just going to get hyper from there. Isn't that true, Sinbu?
That's right. We've got our upper bracket match between Goose and the Kid.
That's right. Two true kings. They've both won previous tournaments in Imposter Kings. And the winner of this match, the upper bracket semifinals, will be through to the finals to play for it all. But what happens to the loser, Simbu?
They get shunted back down to the lower bracket. We can take a look at it right now, actually. So both of them have made the journey from the upper bracket. They won their first round, which is really nice. Upper bracket, you only have to win a couple games to get to the finals here. Well, the person who loses this one is going to be fighting against whoever wins the lower bracket and for a spot in the finals.
Now, I should point out, it's not called the lower bracket on the graph. It's called the loser's bracket. And that's where I started. As a matter of fact, that's where I ended this morning in an excellent match with Papaya. Congrats to Papaya moving on. And, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see if this semifinal in the upper bracket ends up becoming a finals preview because we have two incredible players playing tonight.
That's right. And so let's go ahead and talk about our players. We've got Goose. Everyone knows Goose. He is been around the community for a long time. He has very unconventional plays. He's shifted the meta a couple of times. He's given people the Elder when he swaps with the Princess. He sometimes will use an Inquisitor to call out an Inquisitor. He oftentimes will flip unabated to worry be damned. Family show, oops. But yeah, so Goose is one of the more experimental players.
Yes, Goose, you never know what you're going to get, and that's part of Goose's strength, is he's always thinking ahead to what are some unconventional lines that can produce unconventionally good results. But the Kid is also someone who's always looking for that edge, and we'll see what the Kid has up his sleeve tonight.
Yeah, the Kid likes to play a little bit more methodical. He does see through a lot of the shenanigans, I have to say. And I think last time that they were up together head-to-head, there was a string of pretty bad hands that the Kid was fighting uphill on. However, the Kid, earlier in this tournament, he won a lot of hands that he should not have won, and he just played through them magnificently. 2 points, 1 point, that type of where, you have that hand that's not super great, but you still find a way to capitalize on it. And usually people mitigate those losses. He found a way to win. So,
yeah, that's it. I mean, again, it's to 7, and oftentimes to 7 means the hand lock will eventually equalize. So if you can steal a few points when the winds of luck are blowing against you, when that wind turns around, that means you've got it in the bag. And
yep.
So we'll see which way those winds are blowing tonight and when they blow which way, huh?
And I think both of our players are ready to get started. So let's go ahead and head on into, as we call it, the what do you call it?
Imposter King Stadium. They both parked in parking lot J. They walked through the players' entrance, and now they're ready to begin. And we'll see what they begin with.
All right, let's take a look at this. Opening hand from Goose. Goose immediately deciding to go first. His favorite card is Face Up, known for his Princess play. It looks like both of them, honestly, if you look at both of their hands, you're not super impressed. But I think Goose has some of the stronger cards here. He certainly doesn't have his favorite card, but he has the King's Hand. He's got an OB Sneak with the Oathbound and the Fool. And choosing to go first, I think this is super powerful. He's got a lot of cards that command the board.
Yeah, I think if I'm Goose, knowing that the Princess is out, I don't mind that I don't have any royalty. I do have the 6-1 combo. I, especially going first with the Judge Inquisitor combo, can dictate pace and tempo. King's Hand provides me Assassin cover as well as my Inquisitor. And I have the Mystic as well. Whereas
yep.
If I'm the Kid, I feel under pressure right away with this hand.
Yeah, it's just, he's got a 9-8-7, pretty high cards, but the problem is that it's got real blue at one point, and these Elders are going to be pretty useless in this matchup because of the fact that he has the only royalty. So those cards aren't great for him. He does have the Assassin, so that's nice. At least he knows where the Assassin is, right? Goose choosing to Mystic his successor. We'll see this in this matchup quite a lot, where the Kid and Goose know each other very well. So when it comes to Inquisiting, everyone knows that if you Inquisit something and you miss, it's really painful in this game. And so since they've played with each other so much, they like to hide unique cards. Let's just say unique cards.
That's right. Oftentimes there are a few cards that don't get successored very much, and thus are safe bets when you just want to Inquisit something or make sure your Judge hits. And so if every now and then you tuck it away just to be unpredictable, it can take you a long way.
Goes straight for the queen.
Goose goes right for the queen. And again, this is setting up a future fool play because
Right.
the queen is the main enemy of the fool because it disgraces every card in the court. Nothing for the fool to pick up. Now that's out of the way. And then king flips on it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the kid plays the assassin. Goose plays the king's hand. And a lot of action has just happened in 30 seconds.
He wants none of this. He doesn't want to deal with the assassin. He thinks he has a stronger hand. So what he's going to do is sacrifice an 8 just to get it out of his hand. He was also telling the kid, hey, you know what? If I flip now and you don't have the assassin, you're in a heap of trouble to try to beat me. Now, what this does mean is that Goose is foregoing a 3-point hand. I don't think he had it, but it's just one of those things where we talked about last match where there's well, I mean, you're on the other side of the table, but you know, you can go slow and steady and just keep getting 2-pointers, or you can try to shoot for 3, and usually shooting for 3 is really difficult, especially at this caliber of play.
That's right. So now an intriguing situation is taking root because if I'm the kid, I'm not necessarily in desperate shape. I do have the sentry. And this is the advantage of having a useless elder, is I have something very valuable to trade the sentry for. Now, I do have to worry again about fool play. Anytime you use your sentry, you can leave the fool, give the fool something to pick up. But I would be thinking very carefully about using the sentry to its maximum here.
And I think that's why he played the Inquisitor into Queen. Get the Queen out, so as you mentioned, make it so it's safe. So it's a really good way for a way to make sure that you get rid of the thing that's going to hinder that fool. And I'm starting to see, we talked about it last time on the stream that Papaya is really a huge fan of the fool and he thinks it's S tier. Now I'm considering it almost every time I'm watching a game. I'm thinking about, it's like the second assassin.
Yeah, exactly. The fool is definitely, I would agree, in that tier. Now it's interesting. So the kid is carefully considering a move there. The kid has initiative. He can play whatever he wants. He does have an Inquisitor. And it would be intriguing to think maybe he's thinking about an unconventional line with an Inquisit play.
I think, what do you Inquisit?
Maybe you Inquisit the fool.
No.
You could, because what is there to pick up besides the Inquisitor? Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about it, but that's if you're going to try to muscle him out. And honestly, actually, the muscling out doesn't seem bad. What I would do is I would Inquisit out an Oathbound here. So you could prevent the Oathbound Fool combo. However, again, as we mentioned, it's not like you're going to be able to stop a big Fool play from happening because he's going to eventually have to flip his king anyways.
Yeah, that's true. And so that could be an interesting thing. You do deny the 6-1 combo by pulling that Oathbound. And it is worth remembering, Goose does not have a lot of beef in his hand. It's the kid who has an 8 and a 7. Mm-hmm. Goose, biggest card he has is a 7. He has the Oathbound to wriggle out of a problem. So depriving him of the Oathbound, which is what the kid just played, really does weaken the situation.
It does. And I think that if he even flips and just plays the 8 here, does Goose have a recourse?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so of course, he doesn't know that we always have, omniscience to know that the randomly discarded card is an Oathbound. But if he does, this is a winning line for the kid right now. If he flips,
he could have a preemptive recourse potentially
with the judge.
Using the judge exactly to force a play.
Yep.
So instead, the kid goes with the Warlord. And only one valid play for Goose right now. He has to play the Mystic. Mm-hmm. Now he could play the Mystic.
Immediate 8.
Invoke the 8, yeah.
Yeah, I think he saw that same, because he knows that the other Oathbound isn't here. Maybe he thinks that the kid has it, but he knows that 8 is going to be all she wrote.
Yep.
So is he trying to go, do you think the kid's trying to go for a mitigation strategy here? I pretty much have to, right?
Yeah, the kid has played, I think, conservatively. Again, all right, so the kid burned the Elder there.
Yeah. There you go. I think he is going to go for that, which makes sense. So now there's no way he can lose more than 2 points.
Well, again, the curious thing is the kid with the... Of course, we know things that they don't. They don't know that other Oathbound is the face-down burn card.
But the kid knows that he can play the Zealot on anything, and he knows that he can play the Sentry on anything. So
that's right.
So at this point, he knows that he should be fine, at least mitigation. I don't think there's any way a route to victory here. He's got 2 3s.
That's right. Yeah, he's in tough shape again. Yep, Goose is going to pick up the Oathbound. But again, kid, there's nothing on the board that the kid can't play on, or nothing remaining to play. So yeah, this is guaranteed. This is locked in to be a 1-point hand for Goose.
Yep. And we're going to have to go back to that pivotal point that I was talking about, which was, as you said, there was a mitigation with the judge call, potentially. But otherwise, the kid may have been able to win that if it was played the other way. So Goose is going to go ahead and just pick up this game one. They know how it ends. Yep. So they end it quickly. And I just want to go back to that. So we're talking about right here. He oathbound, calls the oathbound. Great. Again, we know that the other oathbound is out. But but the kid doesn't know that. However, the winning line here is if he flips here, then at that point, Goose has to essentially hit a judge to stall out for one turn. But the point is that he's going to be able to get his sentry, and that sentry is going to be able to beat everything. Now, of course, I say this knowing that in the actual game they use the Mystic to kill the 8. So
that's right.
Goose did always have a recourse to stop it from happening, but it's no surprise to me that that he was able to mitigate it down to a 1-point hand here.
Yeah, I mean, the challenging thing, if you're the kid, of course, knowing how things are at the end of the hand, having the sentry be your successor was really inconvenient in this hand.
Yeah, sure was.
It was extremely inconvenient. If you had, say, your zealot there, which is the more conventional play, this is a 2-point victory for kid, I think.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah,
maybe it might have been. It just really comes down to whether he would have been able to get that Mystic out. But I think what's really cool about this hand is the kid is hiding his sentry, which is an unconventional hide, hoping that the Goose will go for something unconventional. Goose decides to shoot straight fire.
Yep.
Do the thing you're always used to do, which is grab the queen. Now your fool has some threat, and he was able to benefit from that.
Yep. All right. Well, first blood goes to Goose, but it's only for 1 point. And that leads us into hand number 2.
All right. Well, let's see what the draw brings. And I knew this was going to happen. These royalty have been hiding today.
Face down princess always creates chaos when royalty is face down.
All right. Well, this is going to be stressful for someone. And I think in this case, it's probably going to be more stressful for the kid. Just looking at his hand, you got that, instead of that barbell hand that you like to call, the low value and the high value. He's got high value, he's got low value, but he's wondering where that princess is.
Yeah, I mean, the challenging thing with the kid is you didn't get either of the what I call the special cards. You didn't get the fool, you didn't get the assassin. Goose has got both. You suspect that Goose has an oathbound to go with his fool. You know he has the assassin. He may have the judge, and he gets to choose. Well, no, actually, the kid gets to choose.
The kid gets to choose who goes first here.
So it's an intriguing setup. I think the kid being able to go first, I think, would make me feel much better with his hand than if I had to go second here. And if I'm the kid, I think
that's what he does.
Yeah, he's gonna
go for it. This is so interesting because I feel like some of these hands, when you get them, maybe some of the other players might consider a mulligan. I think they're just going straight into it at the beginning to try to establish a lead and save those mulligans for the end. It's a really interesting thing. And, as I was talking in the last stream, there was a mulligan after the free one, it's worth 2 points. But so it's like a prorated, maybe like 1.5, point hand. The kid's probably thinking here, you know what, even if he has the princess, I might have some play here. The issue is he's got the king's hand. He's got the assassin. He's got potentially the princess. He's got the fool. He's got the mystic. It's just so many, so many cards that are, as you call them, special.
Problematic. Now, it's interesting. If you're the kid, you do have to look at your hand and think, what are my assassin countermeasures? And these assassin countermeasures are those
pair of inquisitors.
Now, again, the challenge with only having an inquisitor-based setup for that is now you have the mind games around, is the assassin.
I love this. He goes,
successored?
What he's doing is he's like, do you want to challenge me on this? Do the king's hand on this.
Of course, the irony is he'll just play the other one and go get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love this actual play. This is great. A lot of upper bracket players, I would say, don't typically just go for the assassin here. But the Goose, I think, realizes it. He's like, oh, you know what? He might have a pair of inquisitors here, so it's not worth it for me. Now, the kid also has the interesting line of burning an 8 in order to pick up the assassin. I'm not sure if that's a strong play. The benefit of hitting an assassin on a double inquisitor is exactly what you're seeing here. He's gonna get to play. He's gonna play Goose's hand for him for the first 2 moves.
Right, and he goes and pulls the king's hand. Fascinating.
This is great. He's gotten rid of like the key cards in his hand.
Now the kid did successor his queen, and that's interesting. I think to prevent the play that happened in the first hand, knowing Goose likely has the fool and not wanting the queen to get pulled right at the beginning of the game potentially. Of course, then again, the kid had both inquisitors, so that would have been very difficult to do. So, all right, king's hand out for 8. Now, the kid's got a decision to make. He's got 3 options. He can either sentry on top of that. he can king flip or oathbound into something.
I like the sentry play, except for the fact that obviously it gives him a fool and it gives him a mystic too. Right now, if you're looking, that court is unadulterated. No one has pointed fingers at each other than the Inquisitors to bring people out, but no one's actually been accused or disgraced in the court of law. So that means the mystic is not going to use her power yet. She likes to wait until chaos starts.
Now, just thinking out loud, one devious thing you could do is use the sentry to retrieve the assassin.
Correct.
Knowing Goose at that point would be potentially forced to use their mystic for very low value play, which is to invalidate twos.
Here we go. He's using it as a king's hand or assassin. I think assassin makes sense for based on what you were saying, right? Which is simply just saying, hey, you can use your fool if you want. Well, the problem here is you can use the fool to grab the king's hand.
That's true, too. And so, in effect, we're undoing all the work that was done in the first half of the hand.
All right, he goes with king's hand. So I think that's a smarter play.
Agree. That was the way to go.
But the issue is that now Goose can pick up, obviously, the assassin, which he does, basically saying, hey, I want you to get rid of your king's hand, and he does. So now we're kind of basically right back where we started with less cards.
Yeah, exactly. We basically undid what was done in the first set of hands and then redid it.
But Goose now has initiative, and he has a couple strong plays. He can play the judge, he can play the mystic.
That's exactly right. Now, it's intriguing. Whenever you get a free play of the judge late in the game, there's always an interesting calculus around that. But instead, he's just going to play Mystic as a 7, figuring the kid.
I like that. I think he's trying to tease out a royalty or something. He's going to force the flip here. I mean, he could use his Oathbound, but I think Kid is maybe considering again. This might be an escape hatch, hand, depending on what Goose has.
Yeah, draining out. Now, when you have the hand that the Kid has, you feel very good about your escape hatch chances.
Yeah.
Again, the Kid suspects Goose has the princess. He does not. But all 3 cards are basically parry cards at this point. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the Kid, I think I'm very likely to run this out to a 1-point loss. Now, there is a question. Is there a winning hand for Goose at this point? It's hard to see at this point. He does have the queen, the Kid does, but between having a king flip and an elder, I just can't see the queen being enough, and I don't see any lines that lead to a victory for the Kid here.
I do think it's funny that they both have escape hatches basically in their hand ready to go. And it's like, is the other person going to... are they going to encourage the other one to take the escape hatch? Is it it's like a reverse game of chicken, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Well, that's precisely, actually, I believe that's just a regular game of chicken. Well,
it depends. Do you think you win? So, I mean, I think going back to this, both of them are going to be laughing about the fact that the princess is in the burn because everyone is just kind of just assuming that and are kind of more frightened than they should be.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, everyone's playing tentatively and scared. In effect, both sides are playing scared, thinking that their opponent has the princess. I mean, the reason why Goose has that elder locked and loaded is because he's expecting the Kid to batter him with 2 royalty cards.
Yeah, and so he goes for the princess.
And
there we go. Now the kid knows that there's probably not a princess unless this is a 5D chess move. Which, I mean, Goose.
Yeah, well,
if it's Goose, maybe.
It's possible, but if you're the Kid, you might be feeling silly right now because you think, oh, geez, I played this whole hand assuming I was going to run into the princess, and I made plays that I would not have had I known that. But too late now. Kid has 2 potential plays on that, either the Oathbound or the Queen. Thinking through whether it matters or not. Goose still has the king flip. You want to make sure that Goose uses the king flip here. So we'll see what route he plays, knowing that the princess is not likely in Goose's hand.
And now he has to kind of think, does Goose have the elder or does he have the zealot? If he's assuming that he's not bluffing, I mean.
Yeah.
So he goes with the Oathbound, so he's going to bet that maybe he has the zealot instead of the elder. And I think what this means is in this line, he can play his Oathbound. The Kid will be forced to play his queen. He can flip. He plays his 3. Goose plays his 3. Game over.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Another 1-point hand to Goose.
So there you have it. The Kid goes with his Oathbound. Goose will king flip on that.
Goose flipped.
Whoa.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It should be okay because he still has the elder.
Yes, that's right.
We say one line and we're like, this is it. This is the line.
Okay, so the elder, kid plays the elder, Goose plays the oathbound. There's the queen. Goose will play his elder, and it's another 1-point victory for Goose.
I love how they just know what's going to happen. They've all calculated the lines at this point. It's almost like watching a chess player take a pause during a speed chess game to just do the final
Figure it out
moves.
to
Yeah,
the end.
yeah.
So again, a 1-point game for Goose, and this one, if you're the kid, do you feel good about this end up being a 1-point loss? Do you think he had a shot at this one?
I think Kid had a shot here. Let me tell you where I think that is. So right here, he pulls the assassin, he pulls the king's hand. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. But then he elects to use the sentry and pull the king's hand. I think maybe as he was doing it, maybe he thought the same thing we did, which was maybe the assassin play isn't the greatest one because of the aforementioned fool. But this is where it kind of falls apart. So they have this exchange where they're grabbing stuff and then they use the king's hand to stop the assassin. At this point, now the initiative's flipped to Goose, and I think he came out on top. That's where I think the momentum of the game shifted. It's sure it could have been just 1 point maybe again, but that was, I think, a less than favorable trade. He had a bigger hand here, and I think he could have used that to his advantage. I don't know what he would have done about the fool, but yeah.
Yeah, it is intriguing. I think you're right that was the moment because basically the dust had settled. They'd burn an equal amount of resources, but the initiative had swapped from the kid to Goose.
That's right.
And that was enough to tip that one Goose's way, but still only 2-0 after 2 hands. Both mulligans intact.
Yep.
And we're headed now into hand number 3.
Yep. And let's take a look. Finally, the royalty decided to come out to play. That's nice.
That's right. The judge is the face down burn. That won't affect play too significantly. And it won't. And
might be a judge fan over here.
The judge is an excellent leading card. It has value, but you don't generally change strategy very much.
Right.
When thinking your opponent has the judge. It can happen. Anything can happen in Imposter Kings. It's the reason why it's a great and well-designed game.
There we go.
But all right, so looking, I think I see 2 very balanced hands here. We've got the kid who's got the princess in the king's hand, the assassin, a very tough combo.
Oh man, this is what we were talking about last time with Goose, and it's like almost a reverse situation. Goose got the double inquisitor, however, his opponent does have the princess.
That's right, and more importantly, the kid can elect to go first.
Ah, yes.
So that means that double inquisitor, it might be difficult to deploy it.
Sometimes losing 1 point isn't so bad.
That's right. It's a gained initiative. In the game I had with Papaya earlier, he conceded a 2-point mulligan, but importantly, he grabbed the True King back as part of that, and that was very instrumental in the next hand. So the True King is very valuable. It's like curling a little bit, where sometimes it's worth not winning a hand if that means you get to continue to go last or first. It's the inverse. Anyway, for those of you who know curling, there's a strategy behind it.
Oh, okay. I guess, if you pocket like a stone, maybe like the second to closest in, then yeah.
You generally don't want 1 point in curling because then you swap sides and you figure you want
they get the hammer
initiative. Yeah, you'd rather have a scoreless frame rather than letting your opponent have the hammer.
I just want to let people know I know curling.
There you go.
I know what the hammer is. There's 4 of them. There's sweepers. I got it.
Hey, give your curling emotes in the chat, folks. And all right, so both players thinking this one over hard.
That's right.
And, I can see why. Because they're both hands. You figure when you see a hand like this, and if either there's a powerful face-down burn, in which case things are in your favor, or in this case there's a utility face-down burn, and this is a tough 50-50 hand. And when you have a 50-50 hand, those are the hands that matches are settled on. Because if you lose, again, a lot of an Imposter Kings game is minimizing the bad hands and maximizing the good, and the 50-50 hands, those are the ones that tip a match one way or the other.
Yeah, and it looks like the kid does decide to let Goose go first. The thing about Goose going first here that's a little scary is he's got the double inquisitors. Yeah. So he could do the exact same thing that the kid did to him. We'll see what the kid elects to throw away. Maybe it's a little bit of a dare. He's got to hit those inquisitors, and B, he's got the fool. So if he gets a +1 on the hand size, he could be threatening a big time upset here.
Yeah, there's nothing more painful than giving up a 2-point loss and still using all your cards. The rare but very exciting 2-point hand where your opponent, where you do it not by king flip preservation, but anyway. By the card setup. So here we go. Goose throws his elder away.
Maybe
again,
just thinking that the princess is gone again.
well, yeah, it's intriguing. I think,
Interesting. He puts his oathbound away.
Yeah, I mean,
He thinks his only path to victory, I think, is maybe either a quick flip after checking that there's no assassin, or potentially trying to bait out. Although there's not too many guest cards over on the kid's side, so maybe just wants to make sure he has all the different cards that he can use to leverage power or pull.
Boy, with a play like that, he really is taking a risk of getting that assassin out of the hand, because double Inquisitor, you're going against your opponent having the king's hand. If you miss the assassin on one of those Inquisitors and you can't king flip before they get the assassin into play, I think he is cooked.
Kid's got to put the assassin away. I
Yeah.
mean, the Goose is going to shoot for it. I mean, knowing Goose, obviously he always reads hands, and it's tough. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. So he had a huge choice here. He decides to put away the princess.
Puts the princess away.
I don't know. I think Goose, you hit that assassin, you get that momentum we talked about last round. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a replay of how the last hand was. We go 4-8, 4-2 opening.
Go Zealot.
Oh my goodness. What an incredible play. We're going to have to ask Goose about this after the match, that he let off going for the Zealot.
He just wanted to get something that was less than 4 so he could play his second Inquisitor. But that's just, I mean, that's really funny. I mean, I think he's trying to bait. So now he's thinking, if the Zealot's not in his hand, it's probably his successor, which means that his assassin's probably in the kid's hand. That's probably what his mentality is there. It's just such an indirect way of doing it. And, if he does hit that Zealot, then he gets a pretty powerful read on pulling maybe a king's hand or something. But this is...
I think he's in desperate shape, though. Again, this hand was screaming for a 4-8, 4-2 or 4-2, 4-8 opening. And, we'll see what happens. So the kid goes back with the soldier.
Kid just has to squeeze.
Bronze things up. It's going to be a 7. And there's only 2 valid plays in Goose's hand. It won't result in instant death. It's the sentry and the queen. Unless he wants to do... I believe as a nickname, this would be a raw dog. That would be just flipping the king without any protection against the assassin.
It's a family show.
Is this?
Of course, talking about when the first person who did that was eating a hot dog without the bun. That's why we call it that.
Well, they were just eating a frozen hot dog. And
That's
horrible. Horrible when it happened. And so...
But yes, what he's referring to, which is flipping your king and hoping they don't have the assassin. As I mentioned, I think the goose knows that the kid has the assassin in hand. He should know, because of the fact that he tried to go for a Zealot, and that either means that the assassin is either thrown away. Sorry, not thrown away by him, but disgraced. What is it? Randomly discarded. Or his successor. So I don't think he's going to flip here. It could be, he could, I guess, but that's kind of rough, I think. He flips.
Okay.
He did it.
So, boy, right into it. Yeah, just right into an assassination.
He just wants to. He's doing this. Before the game, I said, just have fun, flip your king willy-nilly. I think maybe his calculus here is just one is he wants to get into kids' heads. If he did flip there successfully, that would have been really powerful. But B, I think maybe he's thinking there's no way I could get out of this anyways. If you look at the other hand, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, I think he isn't in strong shape, but I do think he probably could have forced a king flip. So
at least a 2-point.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Could have salvaged the point out of this. We talked about this being a 50-50 hand at the start. If I'm Goose, I would feel pretty lousy about how this hand turned out. Actually, again,
he had the points to spare, to be honest, and I think risking one additional point just to kind of get a real kind of are you holding the assassin type of thing, that would have been okay. I don't agree with the Zealot call.
Yeah, that was it's
just dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving up a lot of initiative if you miss. And the thing is, the Zealot is very frequently successors.
Yeah.
That is, the whole point is has little value until you flip your king. So it's often the default successorship unless you're going to play strategy. Now, granted, Goose knows the kid very well, but to go at the Zealot, knowing that if you missed, it's a disaster, is a really bold call.
He said he was going anime. He decided to go full anime here.
He did go full anime there.
And I think if he had gotten that call, if he had gotten that hard call, I think the kid would be reconsidering all of his hands moving forward.
That's right.
Let's see what's going on next. So it's a 2-3. It's been 4 rounds already, but the points have been slow, which is what you expect when you get 2 heavyweights in a ring.
Well, that's exactly right. So, it's been 3 hands, and so.
1, 2, 3. We're beginning round 4.
We're beginning round 4. Yeah. So it's been a strong match, and it's been a heavyweight match. Both of them preserve their mulligans. We've seen very interesting hands. Even though they know each other very well, they're still feeling out how they're going to play this match, and because both of them have played so much now, that's all a matter of how they're going to shade their strategy. So this has been as promised. It's been as promised, which is to say excellent so far.
Yeah, I think so. I think the hands have been really interesting. These upper echelons of the court just keep finding themselves outside of the battle.
So no princess and the face down mystic is going to make things very interesting. Goose has what I like to say is a trap hand, because it looks not bad, especially knowing you have the only royalty. But he has no countermeasures for an assassin in that hand.
And he has the assassin king's hand.
That's right. So.
Oh man, so you're saying it's a trap, as in he should jettison?
Yeah, it looks fine, but you actually do need to mulligan this, and I would think you probably should mulligan this. Although he does get to go first, but there might be a line with the 6-1. Or just forcing numbers where he could squeeze the kid. But I got to say, this
doesn't have the Inquisitor, so he can't even pull things out of his hand.
Yeah, I really think that this one would be cruising for a bruising.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think Goose probably should throw this away, but we'll see. He might see something we don't.
He already did the fun hand where he flipped, as you called it. I'm not going to repeat it, but but I think that... this one, I think maybe you mulligan and you try to go for another hand. His favorite card's out. That's a sign. This is a sign right here. Don't you don't get your favorite card. Don't play.
Yeah. Now we'll see. Again, I'm sure they're both mulling this over right now, very carefully. And you can always tell when the tough hands come because of the delay. And again, Goose being the true king, nothing happens until he makes a decision about who goes first. So he is thinking, I think, very hard right now about whether to mulligan this.
I think so. I do appreciate the chat. Uncooked Canine, I think that's a great reference to...
Yeah, we need to think of a PG-13 or maybe even PG or G version of that term.
Uncooked Canine is fine.
Uncooked Canine. Yeah. We'll call it just a canine.
Top dog.
Top dog. So the Goose decided the kid goes first.
Oh my gosh, he's going to play this.
Not only is he playing this, he's giving the kid initiative. It's got to be all around that 6-1 play. That's one of the big reasons to let your opponent go first.
He quickly puts cards away after electing that, which I think he's trying to not show his hand to the kid. The kid has to be wondering, what is he going to do here? Of course, we said he has nothing that he can pull his hand out with, but he does have a sentry. It's his lone 8. It's not going to be great. He also has, as you said, the 6-1 combo. So he has 2 ways to pull or get cards once they're in the court, but no way to actually pull a card out of the kid's hand. So it kind of makes sense that he decides to let the kid go first, but...
Well, and he's got to be thinking full play, because that's the only reason I can see the successor, your queen. You need all the muscle you can get to delay your king flip, and he just took his most powerful reason to stay in the hand and snuck it behind the king that he can't flip successfully while the assassin is around. But
maybe he'll do a top dog.
The whole point, is he's worried that the kid is going to pull his queen at the wrong time for Goose, so that he has nothing to pick up with a 6-1 combo. And I really do think he's going to use that 6-1 combo to save his butt. Maybe potentially to pull an Inquisitor and get it out to be able to get the assassin away. And
maybe, yeah.
Though the problem is
the king's hand.
King's hand is still there.
Well, he's got an Oathbound.
That's true.
We have so much
6-1,
theory.
You cannot king's hand that, and so
we are trying so hard to find a route here.
yeah. So I think I mean Goose. I think is very clearly playing around the 6-1 to save his bacon. And
I do love the fact that the kid is holding on to these.
And that's it for that. So I mean, the kid saw that too immediately.
But I do love that he keeps the assassin in his hand. Like he, a lot of people will immediately kind of get rid of it, but the kid is realizing that he's got the power here. If you're Goose, this is tough.
Well, especially because the kid, knows that Goose does not have an Inquisitor. There's nothing to protect the assassin from. So here we go. Okay, so kid plays the Oathbound on Goose's Oathbound. Now, if you're Goose.
You flip.
Where are you?
You gotta
to do it again, to do another
dog.
top dog on. I mean, it seems like maybe you could do some sort of.
There's nothing
to trade for. I guess you could trade to
you're
get
gonna
that
get a king's hand.
Inquisitor, but you're gonna get king's handed.
This is a top dog situation for real.
Well, he's playing the ability. He's gonna try to trade. Maybe kid misses the trick on the king's hand. To be fair. It's a lot easier to not miss the trick on this client because the client straight up asks you if you want to use the king's hand.
But here's the thing: is nothing is disgraced either. So even if he was bluffing the mystic, there's nothing. You king's hand this, and he's nothing. He lets him do it.
Wow.
He's free,
and he's going to trade. What is he going to trade for that Inquisitor? I'm going to guess he's going to Inquisitor. I could be wrong.
There's really nothing he can really do because what kids should respond with is just, literally
if
just
he plays the king's hand, it hands over.
But plays the king's hand, plays a soldier, and guesses correctly. This is a 3-point hand, and I think I would have top dogged.
Yeah,
this is where you top dog.
I really think the odd thing of all this is Goose still has a free mulligan.
Yeah.
So to absorb another 3-point risk like that to me seems a big challenge. But then again, the difference between 5 and 6 is not huge. So swap Zealot with Oathbound, which is not I think what either of us was anticipating.
I think it's better. It's better. It's a better call.
Yeah, it reduces likelihood of imminent death. Now he has a 6-1 again.
Oh, wow. He actually found a route. This is crazy. So this is actually great for him. This is really smart. So now if he plays the king's hand, you got a 6-1 combo. If he plays the soldier and decides not to use the ability, he's got a judge and a soldier. This is actually, he's going to be able to mitigate this down to 2 points.
Maybe. Because, he can 6-1 on the king's hand. He can't pick the king's hand up. You could pick the Oathbound back up or another Oathbound.
Mm-hmm. Just to make it a 2-point hand. I mean, look, dude, we were like, he's done. He should have top dogged. And we see everything too. He's really good at this game.
Well, that's true. I mean, in part, he caught a break because the kid didn't.
So it's the kid played the soldier and called the warlord, knowing that he has the warlord, kind of being a little cheeky there. Yeah. He's maybe trying to suggest that it's the discard card.
That's true. And of course, he did not want the soldier to be
right.
6,
Exactly.
Yeah, or 7 because then he could do the 6-1 combo.
No judge, just go straight into assassin to confirm it, as well as force out either a flip or the king's hand. By goodness, Goose has done it.
Wow, and he could really wriggle out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, a kid with this play. Okay, so this guarantees a 2-point
hand. He did it.
And
now he's got the fool.
He can play a fool. He could pick the...
Well, playing the fool would guarantee definitely a king's hand play, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'd probably pick the Zealot up with the fool. Or no, I'd have to play the Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I mean, but the judge is really strong here. You hit the judge.
Yeah.
Oh, he goes with the fool. Not sure if the full play is not great.
And he did pick the Inquisitor up.
Yeah, here he's wanting to pick the Inquisitor up. We'll see if the kid, Mr. Kid, arbitrator kid over here gets to choose. But I think that if you play the judge here, it would have been really strong because then he did react with the king's hand. Yep. If you play the judge here, it would have been really strong because then it would force the kid to play a high value card and then he can, safely pick up something.
Right.
It still would have mean that he would have lost to the other high number, but at least would have given him a chance here.
Yeah, so probably will play the judge now, but I think this hand is settled at this point.
No, the judge is really good here. Do you see it? If he plays Judge into Warlord, this is where that bluff that the kid did, it really comes in play.
Right.
If he plays Judge into Warlord, he wins the round.
Yes, he does.
Isn't that insane?
That is.
Oh my gosh, if this is a 4-point swing, I'm going to be...
Yeah.
I need to get off the casting bench. I clearly did not see any of this until Goose unveiled it to me.
I mean, what cracked the door open was the kid letting him make that sentry play.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And then he judges the Mystic.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
That bluff worked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And he doesn't wriggle out, and that's just bad luck. That's just bad luck.
Good on the kid. I was saying as a joke, oh, he's being cheeky. This literally probably won him the game.
You're right, because, oh my gosh, it goes to show what tiny things can do in high-level play.
That's insane.
That could settle this whole match. That's a 4-point swing because of that little feint on the guess. Because, made it seem like it did. Oh my gosh. That little feint.
That's insane.
Guessing Warlord.
That's actually insane.
Yeah, made it seem like it was the face down burn, because who would fake around about that? And
I'm sure Goose knew, actually. He probably thought it was a 50-50 at that point. He was like, would he do that? Would he not do that? Is it which way does the bluff go? But I mean, the fact that it came down to him making a guess on the Judge to win the game, that would have been a 3-point hand that Goose would have won. 3-point hand. That would have been 3 points. Instead, he lost 2 points. This is a 5-point swing hand. Actually, 6-point, honestly, at one point.
Yeah.
We go back. This could have been 3 points to the kid or 3 points to Goose, just depending on how you played it. So
that is exactly right.
When he played the Sentry, you King's hand that Sentry, Goose loses.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yep, that's right.
So there was 3 points to the kid. And then back over here, Judge, call out the Warlord. 3-point hand for Goose.
Wow. So
that's insane.
I'm sure both of them are going to revisit this hand afterwards and think about what could have been for both of them.
They're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
If I know them. So.
Oh, no doubt. Thinking about what could have been on both sides. That is perhaps one of the most interesting hands of Imposter King's ever played. And I'm not exaggerating.
It's so funny that just calling that King's hand on the Sentry would have won him the entire game.
That's right. Well, there you have it.
But he's still got 2 points, so
still
now
got
it's
2
5
points, so he's up 5-2. Both still have their mulligan intact. And we're going to see as we head into the 5th hand of what has been a match that has not only lived up to its billing, maybe even exceeded it so far.
That's a little insane. That last hand, I think... that one, I think maybe I should reconsider my life. that was pretty intense.
Yeah, now... Looking here, new hand. The Fool is out, and the Oathbound that usually pairs it is the face down burn.
And Goose has got the True King, so he can decide who goes first here. Really blue hand on his side.
Yeah, although he does have the Assassin King's Hand combo.
He's got a mulligan this.
I mean, this is where game state comes in.
It's
right?
2-5, right?
It's a marginal hand. But, as I was telling Cena before, I this morning in my game against Papaya forgot the golden rule of Imposter Kings, which is if you mulligan a marginal hand, you are 100% guaranteed to get a worse hand as its replacement. And that happened to me this morning. It's
programmed in.
Yeah, it's part of the client and even the paper cards. I don't know how. But if you're Goose, I'm sure that's weighing on your mind right now.
He's got his favorite card.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got his signature card, his princess. I think he's got to get rid of this hand, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've got the 8-2 combo, and you're just thinking I have the True King, I can choose whether to go first, and I'm sure what he's thinking about is what is in an Inquisitor play that can give me tempo to trap the kid into an assassination. Now, the kid, countermeasures for assassination, has both an Inquisitor and the Mystic, so 2 fairly unfriendly cards for the kid to have against what Goose is cooking.
You know what Goose is thinking right now? This is a prime hand where he can Inquisit the Inquisitor and basically say, kid, hey, you've got to use one of your tools right now and call out the assassin. And it's really intimidating when Goose does that, because either you use the Inquisitor and miss and lose the round, or you use the Inquisitor and hit and you get a breath of fresh air for like half a second before he King's hands it. But I think... for Goose, a winning line, obviously, assuming that the kid does not prep for this, is just simply getting the Mystic out of the way, or even doing that Oathbound start, where you kind of force them to play high cards early. The kid's got a lot of ammunition in the high end. He does tuck away the assassin. I think he's prepping for the Inquisitor play.
Yeah, I think exactly right. Yeah, he successored his assassin.
If he does that, dude, it's a crazy play.
Now, if you're the kid, so your successor here is an intriguing decision. I'm going to guess he's going to burn one of his 2 soldiers. And I don't know, what do you tuck away? Or do you just tuck away a non-strategic card just to put something in the spot?
I mean, if he knows the kid, if the kid knows Goose, maybe he puts away the Inquisitor. That would be huge. That would be a huge read if he does that. But
that's true. Although you still don't have access to it without a king flip, so it kind of gives Goose what he wants without actually, ceding to his play.
Well, it does feel real good when he misses with that Inquisitor, and then you throw out a soldier, disgrace a card, and then you got Mystic play.
That's true, but you could still do the Mystic play even if he inquisits your Inquisitor.
That's true.
But this is interesting. So I think the kid's thinking this very carefully.
But you get the soldier is what my point is. I mean, I think the thing is that kid needs to make sure something gets disgraced somehow. He's got the queen. He's throwing away one of the soldiers. What is he gonna put away? What's your bet? I think it has Mystic.
I think he probably puts the other one of the soldiers away. Would be my thought.
Well, one of them's gone already.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he sticks the other one, as a successor, not for value, but simply just because something has to be the successor, and just keeps all of his beef outside of the king flip. It would be intriguing because,
thinking about it.
If you put your Inquisitor, you successor that, he inquisits your Inquisitor and misses. You play Judge potentially into the battery and start. You put Goose on the back foot then, and that is a potential thought as a line. But now what that means, well, we'll see.
Yeah, and the battery, for those of you at home, is the Judge into Soldier, aptly named so because you're charging the soldier up to hit pretty hard. 2 hands that they have to wait around while you hit with pretty high value cards.
I played the battery twice this morning. I lost both those hands. I didn't expect to win them. They were both mitigation plays, but I'd love to see the win percentage of battery play. I usually play it because you don't have the right tools for the job, and it kind of will do. But
I've always been a huge fan of the battery, and it's been successful for me. But seeing that last hand and me not being able to see like half the lines that they were playing, maybe I feel like I'm not sure if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z, but I'm pretty much the side characters who are powerful in the original Dragon Ball, like Tien and Yamcha. I'm just sitting there watching, Goku continuously get more powerful and like teleport around.
Yeah, at this point, Goku well over 9,000, and we're busy, hanging out with Bulma back home.
Right.
But
I mean, I wouldn't mind.
yes.
So 2 5s out.
All right. So both, as predicted, both soldiers are the successor in burn. And all right, so we've been speculating the Goose is going to inquisit the kid's Inquisitor.
I don't know. We'll see.
I guess we'll see. Yeah, we're a moment away from the Goose laying it out.
I hope he does it. I mean,
the Goose has confounded me with plays that have been
goes straight queen.
The queen. Wow. All right.
No, sir. Not playing around with this today.
And I would assume that goes right into an Elder. I would guess. But
the Elder gives momentum back to the kid.
Yeah, it would give the kid an
pretty
initiative.
strong. Pretty strong. I mean, all those cards are real powerful.
He could also king flip. Yeah, the other obvious play is the king flip. Although that also will give the kid initiative.
He gives the initiative, and okay, so this is literally every card the kid can play right now is really powerful.
Yeah, the Kamiyama. So all right, now this does give the kid an Inquisitor chance. Or a Judge into Inquisitor chance. Do you think the kid just goes for it and inquisits for the assassin?
I mean, that's why the Judge was created, is for you to kind of tease out and save your Inquisitor. I think maybe that's too much, though. I mean, if he inquisits out the... of course, he always has the safe play here. So if he inquisits out the King's Hand and then uses the Sentry to pick it up, that's one route. Another route is that he just mystics twos. It could pull the King's Hand that way too.
Yep.
And just get rid of the assassin. Let's just get rid of it. No one mystics the twos as much anymore unless it's a necessity, just because you're foregoing such a powerful card for one thing.
Yeah, you're foregoing a powerful card. The opportunity cost is huge, and you give your opponent tempo because they get to play on a disgraced card.
Here comes the Judge, asks the assassin, does not get it. So
now do you flip if you're Goose, knowing that the kid will likely flip if you Don't.
I mean, you got the princess, so you can always give it to them. A useless assassin's always fun to give.
Very true. Assassin combos well with princess because you can always give it away once it becomes useless.
Knowing Goose, I felt like he was about to. Oh, he does flip.
He does flip.
I was gonna say he might have just king's handed that.
Yeah.
Knowing how he likes to play, but here we go, giving initiative back to the kid, flipping his king, kind of baiting the kid into being like, either I do have the assassin, you got to use your tools for it, and I get initiative again, or I tossed it. You know.
Yeah.
I think the kid just has to go for it. Let's confirm it.
Yeah, there it goes. Okay, king's hand coming. We'll see. Yes. Okay, king's hands.
So now he's forcing the mystic to, and you don't want to play the king's hand that much because the king's hand they can sentry it. So the funny thing is that the kid still has that that powerful warlord too. He's got a zealot for that, but one of the trick and nuances here is that he kept the zealot in his hand and successored the assassin. So maybe the kid doesn't think he has the zealot because of the fact that normally you put that as your successor. It's just like mind games on mind games.
Yeah, mind games upon mind games. Now, it's interesting, right?
Because he knows that the successor had to be the assassin because of the call-outs he just did.
So now the kid can still just throw out the mystic and go after the twos.
I think he's debating whether he has to or whether he can just win a 3-point hand here. Well, he doesn't have to win a 3-point hand.
Doesn't even have to win 3. 2 points will win this match. Boy, this is interesting. Very interesting play indeed. Now, if you're Goose, you're looking at your hand. You've got 3 very easy-to-play cards.
I just want to point out real fast that... not knowing that the kid doesn't have the Oathbound, but if Goose does play his princess,
mystic, yeah.
If he plays his princess, he wins the game. If the kid flips,
well, he just mystic too, so that's off the table now.
No, not the assassination. I'm just saying pure number 9.
Oh yeah, well,
and right now you've got to think that Goose thinks that he probably has an Oathbound here, so he plays.
Played blank zealot.
That's scary. Because he's still got the warlord, the empowered warlord.
Oh, well.
He's gonna at least be able to burn out his hand with the Oathbound, but I mean, I forgot the princess can play on the warlord, and as well. So
if you're Goose right now, you just have to make sure he flips his king because you can definitely run this hand.
Well, if he flips his king, a Goose can just play the princess, win the round. If he doesn't flip his king, Goose is going to cause a swap with whatever remaining card he has and give him the assassin.
That's right.
So Goose is actually in the driver's seat here, despite it looking like he's not.
Well, yeah, exactly. A king flip, and the kid, I'm sure, is fully aware of the fact that the princess is unaccounted for, and if Goose has it, the kid cannot flip his king. That would be a loss.
Right.
So I'm sure he won't, or feel confident of that. The question right, again, for Goose, there it is. Okay, well, he did flip his king, and Goose has a chance now for a 2-point win to lay it down, and he uses the ability, which shouldn't be material, because he's going to trade. There we go, and that's it. And it's a 2-point win to Goose, and I bet the kid is thinking, why did I flip on that? He must have thought that Goose did not have the princess.
Even if he didn't flip on that, right, at this point, if he played a warlord or played a sentry, Goose can play the princess, swap out the assassin, and you're in trouble as well.
That's true.
So I think that's the problem, is that there's nothing he can really do at this point other than flip and hope he has a pair of Oathbounds instead of a princess Oathbound. He knows he has the assassin. He knows he has to have at least one Oathbound. So at this point, you play to the fact that maybe he doesn't have the princess.
Boy, was that a great hand. We talked about how Goose, whether he should even mulligan this at the start. And not only did he not mulligan it, he didn't even have to use his 1-point buffer to stay in the match. He just won the dang hand.
He's killing me, dude. These plays are insane, and it's going to be a lot of stuff to kind of think about here. A little bit of it is a little bit of gamesmanship and figuring out how to play each other's hands, but the fact that he was able to win off of this starting hand,
pretty amazing. Yeah, again, just games within games, and again, it's just the slightest sliver of knowledge or intuition that gets you through.
So he pulls out the assassin here. He says you need to prove it. He uses his king hand here, forces the mystic usage in order to save it, and this is when it's over. We were saying, is the zealot the right play here? It is, because the princess can play over the warlord, and that's just,
genius.
Yeah, well done. Goose is playing out of his mind here.
So both players now one hand potentially away from winning the match, and Now we're taking a look at a couple of hands. Warlord out.
Goose, you've got to do it.
This strikes me as a mulliganable hand for Goose. Although, let's look at it a bit. He does have the 6-1 combo.
Yep.
He's got the assassin. He does not select who goes first. And if I'm the kid, and
So, I mean, you first have to wait to see who the kid is going to elect to go first in order to at least start the calculus here.
Yeah.
But I've got to imagine, he's got 2 Oathbounds. He's got a Fool. So he can stop the Princess onslaught. He knows where the assassin is. He knows where the King's hand is. I retract my statement. I think this is something he can play. It just really matters who decides to go first.
Yeah, it's a playable hand. Now, the tough part is the kid, if the kid elects to go first, he can dictate tempo because he has the Judge Inquisitor combo. Then again, if you're Goose, you're looking at it and saying, I've got a 6-1 combo. Give me some good stuff. But you also suspect that the kid might have the Queen, which might make your 6-1 combo useless. And I got to say, again, knowing that a 2-point loss ends the match, you might be more quick to mulligan this than you might if this was a fresh game, scoreless, where you think, I have a shot at winning this. I might take a big loss, but let's see what happens.
And it looks like the kid, so the kid was the one with the True King since he lost the last round, and he has elected for Goose to go first, immediately chucks his Elder. Makes sense?
Yeah, both royalty, no reason to keep the Elder around. Usually a very easy discard choice. Now, Goose, I think, is deciding whether to mulligan right now.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's tough because, again, the Warlord is in the throwaway here, so you don't know that for sure. The Warlord is a fantastic card to know where it is. Not because it's super powerful. It is certainly situational, but it's a way different hand if you think the kid has 2 7s, an 8, and 2 9s.
Right. So we'll see. I just noticed, by the way, in the Warlord art, which I've looked at hundreds of times, she's wearing the world's most fashionable Pickelhaube. It's got the spike in the helmet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which befits.
Very important.
And Goose did mulligan. Goose tossed it.
I'm not gonna blame him for that one. I've been calling it for it all game, and then I was like, you know what, maybe, and then he's like, I'm gonna mulligan. So.
And this is coming from Simbu, who is usually loath to use mulligans.
Yes, I think the game is perfectly designed, and there's no reason for it. But there we go. There's that curse you're talking about.
Now, you mulligan a marginal hand, you're guaranteed to get a worse one. This is a lousy hand for Goose, I think.
Yep. And he cannot mulligan again because the kid is sitting on 5.
Yeah, the fact that the king's hand is unavailable. He has no weapons in this hand, really. You look at his hand and you think, how can I wriggle out of this with a 1-point loss?
And he's thinking the kid probably has both king's hands. Both the king's hand and the assassin. Goose is going to have to play this one. He's going to have to play out of his mind.
Yeah, it's going to be exceptionally difficult. The kid is going to have the choice about who goes first. If you're the kid, what do you do here? Do you go first?
So the one thing that's really interesting here is that he doesn't know that the other 8 is out, but he's got a powerful 8. He's got 2 7s, and he may take advantage of this with the kid by forcing him to have to play something early. So he's got double. So for the folks at home, clearly, as I mentioned, I'm Master Roshi or something, but at the same time, I'm looking at Goku. He's gathering a Spirit Bomb right now because he's got, I'm going to stop the DBZ analogies, I promise. He's got double Inquisitor, Judge. He's got a lot of utility cards. If he guesses right, he actually gets out of this somewhat. And I think the thing that you have to really think about here is he plays, let's just say he starts the game and he plays the Warlord. He goes first.
Yep.
What do you do as the kid? Right? You either have to Oathbound into something, or you play a royalty, or you flip your king.
Right. And now one critical thing about this, right? So you always have to think about royalty countermeasures. Goose has 3 royalty countermeasures. He has both elders and a king flip. That means he has to hit royalty with one of those elders if he wants to escape this. So forcing that early is often a good play.
And Goose gets to go. So the kid has given Goose to go first. I mean, I'm thinking about all the things we have to talk about post-game, and there's definitely way too many things. But this is one of those decisions where I'm like, by going first, you're now letting the Goose, again, I keep saying the Goose, because he is the Goose. He is going to have the opportunity to play all assortments of cards.
Right. Now, fascinating thing on this. So, the kid tossed the assassin. Because the kid's looking at this and saying, I do not need the assassin. I'm just going to beat you to death with numbers.
What's funny is that now, if he inquisits the zealot, it's a master play.
Well, it would be potentially. Now, the other thing,
because then he can use this other inquisitor. And
well, this is a dangerous thing. So the Mystic, when you've got numbers lined up the way the kid does, those 6s and 5s, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Mystic play on those Oathbounds at some point.
That'd be
We'll
real
see.
nice.
Yeah.
Real nice. He knows the Fool is out, which is fine. So there's no OB sneak to worry about, which is the Oathbound into the Fool. Does not know where the King's Hand is. And that's the thing this is the part that's really tough for Goose, I think. I think that if he knew the King's Hand, where the King's Hand was, this would not be as stressful. But the fact that the King's Hand is gone, now he has to think, do I do the King's Hand? Do I do the Assassin? Both of those are huge negatives to him. If he calls for the King's Hand here with an Inquisitor, then Kid is going to be like, he's either bluffing, which is a very low likely chance, or I know where the King's Hand is now and I can bludgeon you.
Yep.
He only needs 2 points, hides away the Princess. I like that thought. And I think Goose is pulling out the protractor, calculating every single hypotenuse he can.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, oh my gosh. Okay, so successor Princess.
Well, he got rid of one of your...
He tossed one of the elders. Amazing. So that means he has to hit royalty with the other elder or it is game over.
It's fine.
Well, I mean, and I suspect that's because he has a plan to do it. And,
right.
Of course, the dangerous thing...
Go straight Assassin.
Straight Assassin. Okay, but he still has one. Again, it's intriguing that he didn't go for royalty. If he had gone for the Princess and Mist, that would have been a disaster.
So what he's thinking right now is that as long as I hit the Assassin and get that out of his hand, I should be okay. Maybe hoping that he's going to get an Inquisitor, King's Hand, Inquisitor, Assassin.
Yep.
He should now know that either... Well, I mean, he knows for sure that it's either... here, or here.
Right.
And again, the kid only has to win a 2-point hand. So maybe saving this judge to be able to potentially... Oh, kid plays soldier into King's Hand. So now Goose knows that the King's Hand is not in the kid's hand.
Yeah, I mean, unless the kid is playing a big brain 90 play, which he did earlier by guessing a card that he already had. So again, plays within plays. So
now he's going to just try to squeeze a little bit here, maybe force a royalty, maybe force a flip. At that point, I think Goose he's maybe saving this for the Assassin call out for if a flip happens. I think at this point, what Goose needs to do is figure out a way to get that judge as the second to last card and get away with a 1 point loss here.
Yep.
We'll see if he's able to do it. I think this is a pivotal part of the game right here. He's either got to flip, maybe bait out Goose to try to get another Assassin call out, or he can play his Queen, which I don't recommend, because then he can just play his Elder. I think the flip is the right thing to do.
Flip is the way to go.
And
now,
he did it. All right.
Does Goose then call Assassin again?
I think he has to. I mean, I think so. Kid has been showing Assassin every game. However, this is a little bit different because he didn't have the King's Hand. And if you watch the kid's games, he does toss the Assassin in situations where he doesn't think he's going to be able to win with it. He's also, again, only needing to win with 1 point.
Well,
or 2 points.
2 points. That's right. So, intriguing.
To remind everyone, 3 points if your king is still face up and they have cards in their hand. You win. When you win, you get 1 point. If they still have cards in their hand, you get an extra point. If your king isn't flipped, you get an extra point.
He goes for the Assassin again. It's a miss.
Yep.
So now Goose knows that the Assassin is out of play. Now, could this make Goose think that the Assassin was the face down burn?
It could be either. I think at this point, with his hand and his evaluations, he's probably going to have to just assume that they're both gone.
Yep.
That would be the smart thing to do. Kid is guessing Elder. Definitely true.
Just to get the 7. Yeah.
He can use his Mystic here, which is not bad, but he probably wants to use his higher value cards in order to force some of these bigger cards to come out.
Well, the one thing about the Mystic here is
he
that
just disgraced like everything.
It would mean what the Mystic would do is it would make the kid's hand 2 royalty and 3 effective 3s, and that would guarantee that Goose, if he uses the right card on the royalty at the right time, can get out of this with a 1 point loss. And, that's, I'm sure,
there's a
part
couple
of his
of lines. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of lines here. It's just trying to figure out which one's the best one, right? If you play 7, he plays the Zealot. You play the Sentry. Of course, we're not considering the fact that those pairs of Oathbounds can do stuff. So, I mean, if you want to slim it down, mysticking the 6 will make the game state a lot more clear, I think.
Yeah.
And at that point, he can burn one of his Oathbounds, the first time. Then Goose can play. The problem with that is, again, if Goose uses the Mystic on the 6s, and then the kid plays an Oathbound that's been burned, Goose plays the Sentry, the kid can then play the Zealot. And then at that point, Goose has to flip, and that's all she wrote.
Yep. So
he can't do that line, which is a tempting one.
Yeah, you're right. And so this is intriguing. So the kid wanted to very much make sure that Sentry did not have anything interesting to pick
It's
up.
funny that, he's using the Soldier to great effect there.
And again,
shout out to Soldier users.
Of course he did that because what else, he has nothing to pick up anything. So there's really no reason not to just completely demolish the line, as it were. And all right, so
no
just
ability.
A straight
so
7.
I think he suspects the Zealot here. Of course, even if he plays a Sentry, he can double Oathbound, I believe. And then at that point, Goose will still have to flip and lose the game. Unless he thinks that he kept one of the Elders. Because he did have both.
Why did he throw one away? I think that is such an aggressive play. So if you are the kid... So let's play one line out. The kid will play Zealot here. Okay. Yeah. Goose has to play, to stay in this, his Sentry. The kid, the right play here is actually the Oathbound and the Oathbound.
I think so.
A rare play that will be...
Oh, hold on. We got the Queen. So now he's got his escape hatch here.
Yep. So now he can use an Elder on the royalty card. That was a prerequisite for survival.
So I think maybe Kid is thinking, if I do this, then I have my Princess to force a swap. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so here we go. Here's an Oathbound with no ability. I think
Goose.
I think he has to flip. I'm not sure here. This is tough.
He can't flip. Goose can't flip because then the Princess kills him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
that's why the Elder play is kind of a dangerous one. Because if you play if he had flipped on the Queen, then he would have the Elder in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So he can't flip. He does anyways.
He does. Well, he can judge his way to the end.
Yeah,
potentially.
he could, but if he plays the Princess right now, he's
the
cooked.
Kid for some reason decides to play the Zealot, and that's, I think, the only way this match continues.
So if the kid
no.
If the kid thinks he has
he could use a Sentry to pick up an Elder.
But right now it's the kid's turn, and here's the thing is if the kid plays the Princess with no ability, he wins the game. What he could be thinking right now is that Goose has an Elder. If he plays the Princess and Goose plays the Elder, then he has advantage with the Sentry, meaning highest value card. Kid will still get 1 point victory, but he's going to weasel his way out if he had the Elder here.
Oh, boy.
And so maybe he's thinking, is there a way that I can guarantee it if he had the Elder?
So this is the big moment right here. The kid has a chance to win the game if he plays his Princess. But there's very good reason in terms of unknown cards for why he wouldn't do that.
Okay, so he goes
to the Oathbound.
Okay. And then so now he plays the Sentry, grabs the Elder.
Grabs the Elder.
Oh my gosh, he got out.
Yeah.
He got out.
Yeah.
No.
Incredible.
Goose.
Incredible. And
he's gonna watch this video afterwards too. He's just gonna see my exasperated.
If you're the kid, we have perfect information. If you're the kid, you have you think, did Goose burn that other Elder or not? Well, he did. We know that. The kid does not know that.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe it. He just has to do, he has to do the Sentry. Yeah, Sentry into Elder, and that he's out.
That's exactly right. So I'm sure he's computing the math in his head to make sure he's not overlooking anything.
With ability.
With ability. Here goes the judge. The judge will be traded for the Elder. And it will, the kid, doesn't matter what the kid plays. The Elder will be able to play on top of it.
No, you forgot one thing. Princess has an ability.
Oh my God, I did. We did. And that's it. We forgot. He can trade away the Zealot, which will be useless in this situation. And I guess it's poetic justice that the princess's ability ended up being Goose's undoing here. So actually, the kid does press the advantage there. He gets the 2-point win he needed, and he wins the match 7-4 over Goose. And I gotta say, that one will go down in the ages.
Yeah.
If you're looking to see Imposter Kings played as well as it can be played, I think we just witnessed that. And again, I mentioned this could be a preview for the finals if Goose can work his way through the lower bracket. And who knows what may happen here, but I know a rematch on this would be something that everyone should see.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of plays there. There was that one where, again, they were doing their, zippity zap, understanding the game way further than we were able to kind of foresee. Goose had some pretty interesting plays there where he was able to get out of it when it seemed unlikely. But then at the end, the kid was still playing a really solid game in there and was able to cut off his final retreat at the end there with the princess swap, which is, again, signature move for Goose usually.
Again, game ended 7-4. That was potentially a 4-point swing when he missed on that warlord on that tiny piece of information, just that slightest edge.
6-point, in fact.
Yeah,
I mean,
it could have gone either way. And it goes to show when you have a 50-50 hand.
Yeah.
It is ultimately those are the ones that end up determining the match.
I think so. Yeah, I think the biggest issue that we saw, and by issue I mean the thing that Goose was kind of running into, and I think one of the things that we'll ask him when he comes in is simply just, did you was this kind of a feel out game? He knows that this is the kid is a really strong player, and they've played quite a lot of times together. There's a couple of plays where I think he was trying to get into the kid's head. So let's go ahead and pull him in and see. Any second now. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Zoom is zooming. Zoomily.
Oh, you know what? I think he's using his phone so that way we can get a video.
There
it is.
Goose.
It's connecting to audio. Can't. Got to give it a second. You can wave, though. We can sign language. All right. Hello.
Goose. Great
All
to
right,
see
hello.
you.
Hi.
How are you?
Bro, I'm tired.
Well, that was a heck of a match. In the chat, folks were saying that these players are OP, and they're right. It was an incredible match. Some fascinating lines, some incredible lines. We have 1,000 questions to ask, I think, but we'll try to keep it short just so you can get some rest. I think the first one that I feel like I've got to ask is, why the Zealot for that Inquisitor play?
So, my thought with Zealot is I felt like it was a gamble, like trying to inquisite like a lot of other things. And so he was most likely going to be hiding something. So, all right, if he's hiding something, then he doesn't have Zealot as his successor, which would, and I would assume that if his Zealot was, honestly, if his Zealot was in hand, I probably would have just flipped, thinking I would have pulled something else and then flipped, thinking that he had hit an assassin.
Yeah. That's what we're presuming, actually, which was a lot of people put the Zealot away and they have their assassin in their hands. So if you call for a Zealot, then he probably has his assassin either as the throwaway or the successor. Of course, he didn't. You did what we called a top dog play, family-friendly version of whatever Dan said. So, which was an unadulterated flip. And it kind of bit you there, but at the same time, it kind of leads into my second question, which is part of this game. You guys have played quite a lot, right? And so part of my question is, you guys are in the upper bracket. It's much better to be in the finals rather than having to claw back from the lower bracket. But was part of this you trying to feel out how the kid is going to be playing against you in case you do have a rematch in the finals? Or were you going for the, like, I think I can get him here?
It is, he has definitely grown since we first started playing, because before he used to always have like the most efficient lines, and now he's a player who he'll do weird things, like he'll throw away assassin when he clearly had like that last hand. His hand was clearly stronger than mine. Like I get the I get that the king's hand was out, but he knew that like I would have to make a bunch of I was gonna have to make a bunch of sacrifices just to make sure assassin wasn't in his hand, and he only needed 2 points, so
Right.
he was okay with flipping,
Mm-hmm.
and then making me go first, so that way there was pressure, and then having princess like these are all things that I know where he's picked up along the way. Um, and so I feel like he is much more diversified player than he used to be. He also plays a lot faster now.
Well, that's true. And I think one of the things that was really interesting, again, there's plenty of games, and we could talk a long time about each of those different games. One of the games that really struck us, I likened it to a DBZ where we're like Tien and Yamcha, and you guys are like, teleporting all around going Super Saiyan or whatever, because we didn't see a lot of the lines. But there was one where he had a 3-point win. If he had just king's handed your sentry, he actually would have just won that hand straight up, because he had assassin in hand and you had nothing else that you could play on top of what was out there. But he didn't, and then it turned and it almost was a 3-point win for you when you played your judge. And sorry, you had a couple of different plays, but at the end of the day, you played your judge, and he called warlord earlier on a soldier when he had it successored, and you had a 50-50 on essentially warlord or mystic, and you went with mystic. Did you think that he was maybe?
What makes me so mad is that I didn't have to care about the information. If I had already gotten his I had already gotten assassin
Yeah.
out of my soldier from earlier. So all I had to do was call assassin again, and I would have won that game. But for some reason, I had it in my head like, oh, it's these cards, so I'm just gonna say this one. So I guess it was like my fault was not critically thinking on every hand, because had I thought a little bit deeper, I would have realized, hey, it doesn't really matter if he has the mystic or not. If he has the mystic, then he's going to play it. He's going to use it on sixes because he knows I have one.
Right.
And then I'm going to lose anyways.
Right.
So why call on something it's just not going to help me?
Fair enough. And that was a crazy hand. Again, there was a 6-point swing potential at one point. I'm sure you'll either you've already seen it or you'll see it once you got the omniscient view that we do. But yeah, I mean, your journey does not end here. Luckily for us, we get to see you again, to the winner of, I guess, there's 2 matches before that. And then we'll see, who is going to be your counterpart, to fight to see whether you can go see, Ben Dodd, the kid, in the finals. Is there anything you want to say before we bid you adieu for now?
Kid, I always love playing against you. It's always a fun matchup. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's a back and forth like this. Sometimes it's a 7-0 me. Sometimes it's 7-0 you really never really know what you're going to get with our games. So it's always a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And best of luck on your other tournament journey.
That's great. I mean, this is only in the Imposter Kings community. Do you have someone say, "Hey, do you have anything else you want to say?" And it's like a love letter to your opponent. That's great. And I know you guys love playing against each other. And when you find time to do so, it's always a pleasure for us to watch. So thank you for joining. And I think maybe next weekend you had something planned for like a 4-player thing that I'm casting. Kind of a subtle hint to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
I'm excited for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Goose.
Thank you, Goose. Very well played. We'll see your next game. Excited to cast it, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thanks so much.
Goose, working long hours, getting off his shift, literally hops right back onto Imposter Kings. He also, I mean, he literally at work is playing on his mobile phone as much as he can whenever he gets a break, where it's allowed. It's not like he's doing it, under the table.
But operation.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's great community member, great innovator. He tried a couple things. I'm really excited to see what the next match looks like. So, let's go ahead and pull in Mr. Ben Dodd himself. I don't actually know what the delay is when you hit that, but
I guess Zoom's got to zoom.
Zoom's got to zoom.
The
Hello,
kid! Congratulations!
Oh. Thank you. We made it. We made it to the finals.
Incredibly well done. Again, we're just mentioning in the chat how everyone was saying that these two players are OP. And the level of play was just exquisite. Some incredibly interesting hands along the way. Some very swingy hands along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the one big hand that everyone's thinking about is the one that ended with a misjudged call on the Warlord. And that hand could have gone 3 points either way the entire way through. Take us through that one a little bit from your perspective. Did you feel like you were going to win that one in the beginning?
I never feel like I'm gonna win versus Goose. There's always, he's wriggled out too many times. When like the hands are imbalanced but in different ways, it's like both of you are on the verge of death, and it's like you're trying to walk along your like little ledge, and they are, and like either of you could fall into the abyss at any moment. I got very lucky towards the end there, that my bluff call that I was actually... So I soldiered called Warlord because I wanted it to be a 5, not a 7. But it's not necessarily obvious that I want that, so I get to also throw some misinformation in at the same time. And then he held the judge, which is very good play.
Yeah.
He can just judge there, but then I actually win.
Right.
So he held the judge. So then in my head, he doesn't have it anymore. And then when he played it, I was like, oh no, like it's over, I miscalculated.
And if he had just judged the assassin, as he was saying, he would have been able to get out.
Yeah.
So...
But so, I got lucky there, a little bit of misinformation, a little bit of, he just didn't quite think it through, and he's pretty confident that I must have Mystic in hand. But, I could have killed him a lot earlier if I'd known Mystic was out. But I thought he had Mystic. So I was playing around Mystic very hard.
Right.
Because... there's holding the king's hand for the full or the mystic, depending on which one. I felt I couldn't king's hand on his sentry with the information I had at the time.
So that was the interesting part right there, Ben, was that if you had king's handed the sentry, of course, not knowing all the information, you would have won with a 3-point hand there.
Yeah. But it's like...
we know that. It's so smart sitting here in the booth, We
I'm actually very smart. I just think it's a really interesting thing because of that swing that we were talking about. And so it leads into my next question, which is kind of the risk tolerance thing, right? What's your strategy, especially, at that point in the game, the score was 2-3 you. You had just won that 3-point hand on the top dog play, as we called it, when someone flips without having protection. And... I think
that was a good play, by the way, from Goose.
It's worth a shot.
I think I was correct.
This is the thing I was talking about. It's like we're gonna say, hey, we know what perfect information. Why is he flipping here? It is the right play because of, as what you're mentioning, is based on the information that you know. That's the time you have to flip.
Because I was 50-50. Like at the start, I don't know, you can't see my mouse, but I was hovering. Like I was about to click princess, then I'm about to click assassin, then it's like, who am I successoring, assassin or princess? And I'm trying to make that choice there, and neither of those is like strictly better,
right?
But it's like, what do I think Goose is going to do? Like we've played each other a lot. We're always in each other's heads. And after he misses on the zealot, I'm winning that hand. He's done for.
Right.
And so whether you lose it now or later, he's only risking the one extra point, because if he doesn't flip there, he holds off. I'm probably going to flip at some point. We're probably going to get to a two-pointer hand state. And so he's risking 1 point in exchange for potentially winning the hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I very well could have put Assassin under, and then I lose there, and he's won the match, basically.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so going back to that, which is risk assessment, right? 3-point hands obviously are great if you can get them. 2-point hands is the standard, and 1-point hands, you're kind of giving up initiative sometimes. And so when you're thinking about this evaluation, as I mentioned, if you had flipped, you would have won. I have omniscient view. But you have that calculus in your mind. Oh, this could be a winning play. When do you typically like to go for, like, what do you think is the balance there? Do you like to just kind of stick with the 2-pointers, or do you try to evaluate how close you can get to a 3-point there? And again, to remind you the score at that time, it was 2-3.
I think it's very dependent on hand state.
Right.
And so you're talking about the game with the sentry and the king's hand and the full.
The one where if you had king's handed the sentry.
Directly after, yeah. And at that point, I'm just trying to win the hand 2 points in that position. And I think I can. And I'm staring down. There's no way he's tossed Mystic. There's no way he's put it as his successor. And there's a risk of me. He can Mystic my king's hand. He can Mystic my elder for his queen. Yeah.
The risk was too high, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a meta thing for you. It's more of like how am I going to win this hand and what is the best I can do? So you're looking at it like that. Really interesting. I was actually really curious about that because I think different players kind of there's like a mental element to it too, and so you're very calculated in making sure that you can understand what the risks are for that extra point.
I think it depends on the score. So like if the more behind on the scoreboard I am, the more risky I will start playing.
Great.
So when I am like, my hand's actually solid here, like I'm going to play safe, but maybe I'm playing too safe in that position because it's like I might have got 3-pointed there at the end, it's
right.
When the hands are so volatile like that, it's tough.
Well, that was the one where it could have swung the other way 3 points, but I think that's the thing that's really interesting about that hand specifically, which is how much of a risk tolerance. And in that case, 2-3, if you win that game, you go to 5. 5 is a really good place to be in the meta in the meta game there. But Ben, thank you so much, by the way, for joining us. I know you've got plenty of other games to be playing as well, but you've made yourself to the final, and we're going to find time to get you out here in between your trips to Bali, Amsterdam, wherever else you may be traveling to play more cards.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad I don't have to work my way through the lower bracket. I can just wait. See which challenger approaches.
Oh, there we go. Your very Street Fighter new challenger approaches method.
It's the way to do it. Well,
World Warrior.
Thank you again for everything. And we will see you next in the finals.
Good luck with.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with everything you're up to nowadays, and also we'll see you in the finals.
I just want to say thanks to Goose as well, absolute legend of the community, and he's so fun to play versus. I'm always sweating. I'm always on the verge of death every hand. Love Goose.
All right. Hearts out to Goose. Hearts out on both competitors. You guys played fantastic. Take care, Ben. Thank you so much. Well, let's take a quick look here at the bracket again, just so I can show off my transition animation. But here we go. So we've got now the kid is going to find his way to the finals. And we've got 2 more really powerful matches in the lower bracket here between Drip Drop Dando versus Yeti and Vila versus Papaya. Whoever wins that will be playing up against Goose to see if they could secure their place in the grand finals.
Yeah, that will be an intense set of matches. Drip Drop Dando, Yeti, Vilao, and Papaya, all 4 of them excellent players. Those are going to be 2 excellent matches. Any one of those 4 could make it through the end, but boy, they've got a heck of a final boss now to get through in the lower bracket. Now the Goose is down there.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love that. He's gatekeeping.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He's a community member, one of the pillars of the community.
That's exactly right. So there's a lot of really great Imposter Kings left to play in this tournament.
Yep.
I think we got a taste of what's in store in the final rounds here.
Yep, I'm pretty excited. I mean, I think all the games leading up to this have been fantastic, and I think we've only got everyone who's in the lower bracket and the upper bracket, meaning just the kid now. They are all unique in their play styles, and it's really interesting to see how they interact. I'm really excited to see, for example, how Papaya's full strategies are going to match up to Goose's potentially, or how Yeti and Drip Drop Dando's aggressive play style. That's going to be a slugfest next. So stay tuned. And we are, Sinbu and Dan. And I think this is goodbye.
Yeah. Thanks all for tuning into this wild tournament weekend of the Imposter Kings Summer Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble.
And that's probably copyright WWE, but that's fine. As long as they don't see this. And
I think it's spelled differently.
Yeah, we will see you at our next set of matches coming up. And I know this tournament's just heating up.
Yep.
See you there.
Stay royal.
See you
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.